Hello friends, welcome to e-learning series of Chaudhary Brahm Prakash Ayurveda Tirth Sansthan. I am Dr. Rijo Agarwal, working as the Associate Professor and Head in the Department of Shalakya Tantra. And my topic of today's discussion is clinical interpretation of Patal in Ayurveda, that is Netra Sharir. We will discuss about gross anatomy of eye in Ayurvedic perspective. So first of all, as you know that Panchbhut Siddhant and Tridosh Siddhant are the backbone of Ayurveda. So there is also a description of Panchbhautik Sangathan or constituents of eye. So according to ancient Indian philosophy is of opinion that all material, living or non-living, are made up of five fundamental elements called Panch Mahabhutas, and all parts of body are also made up of by the combination of these Mahabhutas. This is the theory of Panch Mahabhutas. In case of Netra, there is a dominance of Tej Mahabhut. Therefore, Netra has always a threat from Kaph Dosh, which has exactly opposite qualities that of Tej Mahabhut. In Panch Bhautik Sangathan, Acharya Sushruta have described that Palam Bhuvo Agnito Raktam Vatat Krishnam Sitam Jalat Akashad Ashru Margach Jayante Netra Buddhati, which signifies that the muscular portion of the eye is made up of Prithvi Mahabhut mainly. The vascular part comes from the Rat Dhatu, and the Vayu Mahabhut made the black portion of the eye. The white portion of eye is contributed by water Mahabhut, and the Ashru Margas, the lacrimal apparatus and all the orifices are made by Akash Mahabhut. Though there is a dominance of Tej Mahabhut, other four Mahabhut also contribute in the formation of eyeball in developing embryo. So here is a brief description of Panch Bhautik constituent of eye. As you can see, the muscular part in the lower slide or in the lower image, you can see the rectus muscles or extraocular muscles are mainly fleshy in nature and made up of Prithvi Mahabhut. All the ligaments, intraocular muscles, and the predominant dosh in formation of these parts or structures is Kapha. The vascular part, lid, conjunctiva, all the blood vessels, uveal tissue, neural part of the retina is made by Agni Mahabhut, and the predominant dosh is Pitta. Black colored part or Krishna part is mainly made by Vayu Mahabhut, and the structure cover under these black portion mainly cornea, iris, pigmentary epithelium of retina, and the predominant dosh here is Vata. All the white color parts, that is sclera, conjunctiva, intraocular fluids, lens, the predominant Mahabhut is Jal and the predominant dosh is Kapha. And in this second image, you can see all the lacrimal gland and lacrimal apparatus, this lacrimal draining system. So lacrimal passage is made by Akash Mahabhut, and predominant dosh again is Vata. So lacrimal duct, lacrimal canal, NLD, all made by or all contributed by these Mahabhut. So Panch Bhautik Sangathan is also is having clinical importance. So we should always think about these constituents and the predominant dosh before we start our therapy. So there is a description of Netra Sharir, and in Netra Sharir, Acharya Sushruta have described mainly three parts. That parts are called Mandal, Sandhi and Patal. Uh, in his verse number 14, Mandalani cha Sandhish Patlani cha Lochne Yatha Kramam Vijanya Panch Shadja Shadevcha. So he is having the opinion that our eyeball proper is made up of three main parts: Mandal, Sandhi and Patal. So there is a number for each of these parts. There are 5 mandal, 6 sandhi and 6 patal. So 5 mandals are, the literal mean of mandal is circular areas. As you can see here, that the circular part made by the eyelashes, the circular part made by the eyelashes is called Pakshma Mandal. The circular portion made by the eyelids, both the eyelids, upper and lower, is called Vartma Mandal. And the white portion you can see here, all the white portion, sclera plus conjunctiva, which can be seen anteriorly, is called Shukla Mandal. And the Krishna Mandal, the black portion, whatever black you can see in the eye, is called Krishna Mandal. So cornea and iris comes together in Krishna Mandal, and the innermost mandal or Drishti Mandal or hollow area is called Drishti Mandal. So these are the 5 mandals or 5 circular areas present in eye, and we should count them from anterior to posterior. So that is why they have enumerate Pakshma Mandal as the first mandal, because it lies most anterior. And then we have a description of sandhis. So sandhis are the junctional area where it is the junction point, it is the meeting point of two structures. So first sandhi, as you can see, the first two mandal are Pakshma and Vartma. In sandhi, the Pakshma Vartma sandhi. So it's a junction of Pakshma mandal and Vartma mandal. So you can see here that Pakshma Mandal and Vartma Mandal meet at lid margin. So this is the first Sandhi, Pakshma Vartma Sandhi. And then Vartma Shukla Sandhi. Vartma Shukla Sandhi, you can see in this slide, the lower slide, that Pakshma Vartma Shukla Sandhi. Vartma Shukla Sandhi is the Sandhi between Vartma Mandal and Shukla Mandal. So Vartma is for lid and Shukla is for sclera or conjunctiva. So this is the Sandhi where you can you have that knowledge that palpebral, there are two parts of the conjunctiva. First is the palpebral conjunctiva and the other is bulbar conjunctiva. The palpebral conjunctiva is the posterior, which covers the posterior part of the eyelid, and the anterior part of the sclera, the portion of the conjunctiva, is called bulbar conjunctiva. The meeting point of the palpebral and the bulbar conjunctiva is called Vartma Shukla Sandhi, and it is nowadays called fornix. The lower fornix, where the palpebral and bulbar conjunctiva meet, and the upper fornix, where again the same structure meet. So there are two fornix in each eye, and it can be considered as Vartma Shukla Sandhi. The third Sandhi is Shukla Krishna Sandhi. Shukla Krishna, Shukla is the white part of the eye and Krishna is the black part of the eye. So here you can see the white part of the eye is continuing with the black part of the eye. The Sandhi, the junctional area or the circular area, which is the continuity of the sclera to the cornea, is called Shukla Krishna Sandhi. So Shukla Krishna Sandhi is the limbal area or corneoscleral junction or iridocorneal junction, whatever you can call. From the inner side you can call it scleroirido junction, and from the outer side you can call it sclerocorneal junction. So the fourth sandhi is Krishna Drishti Sandhi. Some scholars have termed it as a Drishti Sandhi only, but some termed it as Krishna Drishti Sandhi. So Krishna is the black portion and Drishti is uh, the hollow structure or the pupil. So the junction area, the meeting point of Krishna and Drishti is, you can call it as the sphincter pupillae or the pupillary margin, because this is the junctional area between the black portion of the eye and the pupillary area or the drishti mandal. The fifth sandhi here is Kaninak sandhi, the medial part of the junctional area where the two lids, upper and lower lids, meet. This is the Kaninak sandhi, and the another is the lateral part where the two lids meet is called Apang sandhi. So here is a gross description of Netra Sharir or anatomy of eye. There is also a description of embryology in Ayurveda. हम लोग सोचते हैं कि ये बहुत एडवांस साइंस है, but here you can find some references in which embryology is described. So तथा कफ रक्त वाहिनाम सोत्ताम महाभूतानाम च प्रसाद इंद्रियाणि नेत्र मंडलेषु एकम तेषु अपि च नेत्रे श्लेष्मणः प्रसादात् शुक्ल मंडलम तत्पितृजम अस्त्रजः कृष्ण मंडलम तत् मात्रजम मध्ये दृष्टि मंडलम तत् उभयात्मकम. The development of the sense or the indriyas according to Acharya Vahan is attributed to kaf and rakt srot. So all the indriyas are formed by the kaf and rakt srotas. Acharya Bhagvat has also classified the embryological aspect. The Shukla Mandal comes from the kaf srotas and it is considered as the Pitraj Bhav. The paternal factor is responsible for the white portion of the eye, and the Krishna Mandal comes from or originates from the Raktubhaya Srotas, and it arises or it gets its origin from Matrij Bhav. So all the black portion of the eye is contributed by the maternal factor, and Drishti Mandal is having both maternal as well as paternal factors responsible for its development. So we will talk about patal, because the concept of patal is very much controversial, and there are different views of commentators in these description of the patal. So what is the literal meaning of the patal? What is layer, wheel, covering, chest, basket or surrounding skin, membrane. So in eye we can call it a layer of the eye or tunic of the eye. So there are in all 6 types of patals described in reference to eye in Ayurveda. So द्वे वर्तम पटले विद्यात् चत्वारि अन्यानि च अक्षणे जायते तिमिरम येषु व्याधि परम दारुणा. So they have described द्वे वर्तम पटले, means there are 2 lids. Patal is a layer, and the outermost layer, which is exterior to the eyeball proper or external to the eyeball proper, are called vartam patal or eyelids. Vidya Chatvari Anyani Chashani means out of 6, 2 are exterior to the eye and 2 are responsible for formation of eyeball proper. So what are these 4 petals? Rest 4 petals which are present in the Akshi are Bahya Patal. So Acharya Sushruta have termed it as Bahya or the outermost covering, and it is also called Tejo Jalashrit Patal. The second patal, which is interior to the, you can see here in this image, the outermost covering, which consists of fibrous coat or cornea plus sclera or bahya patal. This is also called tejojalashrit, and it is considered as the outermost layer or tunic. And the second is Masashrit Patal. Masashrit Patal is this the just beneath the fibrous coat, and it consists of choroid posteriorly, then ciliary body, then and the anteriormost part is iris. And as you know very well that there is a contraction and relaxation in ciliary body as well as in the iris. So that is why, and these are the properties of mass dhatu. So this layer is also called mass ashrit patal. And the third third patal, which is inside this mass ashrit patal, is a somewhat gel-like structure. So here is the controversy started with the different authors and different commentators. So some say that this vitreous cavity is considered as the third patal, and the fourth patal is this retina and the bony orbit, etc. But we will discuss in later slide that the patal should, the outer patal should cover the inner patal. So here we can see this lens. The lens, the outer part, lens is divided into two parts. First is cortex and the inner one is nucleus. So the outer part, the nucleus is somewhat harder, and so that is why, and the outer part, cortex of the lens is gel-like. So that is why the third patal should be Nidashrit patal, and the fourth patal, which is somewhat harder, is called this Asthi Ashrit patal. So I was talking about relative position of the each patal. So they have told that Roganta Dashyang Ghoran Shat Cha Shat Prachakshmahi Patla Anupravishtasya Timirasya Cha Lakshanam. Timir is a gross term which used to describe different pathological entities resulting in due to blurring of vision. So whenever timir arises, whenever there is a problem of blurring of vision, there is patla anupravashtasya of dosh, any dosh from the outer part or the outer layer comes in the inner layer, which is called in the position of the doshas according to anupravishtasya, according to its location, is called Timir Vyadhi. The first patal among four in Netra is termed as Bahye or outer, which suggests that the other three are relatively inner to the former. Secondly, vitiation of Bahye or first patal follows the second, and so on, third and fourth. When the first patal is outermost, the successive second patal lies inner to the former, and thus fourth should be the innermost. But here in Dalhan Tika or the commentary of Tika Nibandh Sangrah, the Dalhan have taken Tejo Jalashrit as the innermost layer or the innermost patal, and the outermost patal according to Acharya Dalhan is Asthi Ashrit, which is uh, inversely proportional, or which is directly opposite to the what Sushruta have said. Sushruta have described first patal as a Bahya patal, and it is called Tejojalashrit patal. So friends, we will discuss about the clinical importance, interpretation, how the Timir formation is there, how it proceeds towards the deeper layer in our upcoming lecture. Till then, goodbye and stay safe, stay home. Thank you so much for listening.
Hello friends, with reference to our previous discussion on gross anatomy of Netra Patal, today we will continue with clinical importance and prognostic interpretations. First of all, to understand Netra Patal, we should have basic idea about the relative position of Patal in sequential manner means position of particular Patal in relation to others. As we know that in all there are 6 Patal, out of which only 4 are responsible in formation of eyeball, that is Chatwari Anyani Cha Akshini. This point is very important to know as we can understand about how doshas travel from one patal to another. As we have discussed in the previous lecture about Patala Anupravishtasya, which means Prakupit dosh used to travel from outer patal to inner patal. Next, we have to know about the composition of particular patal according to dosh, dhatu, mahabhut along with properties of the patal. Lastly, different clinical condition arises due to involvement of particular patal is also very important to assess. Let us understand Pratham Patal. So Pratham Patal is called Bahaya Patal or outer patal. So you can see here the outermost patal is Bahaya Patal, consists of cornea, this is cornea and this is sclera. The posterior 1/5 is sclera and the anterior 1/6 is cornea. It is also called fibrous coat. By the word Bahye, it is evident that other 3 petals are relatively inner to the former. In Timir vitiation of Bahya Patal follows the second and so on. Regarding composition of Pratham Patal, it is made by Tej and Jal according to Acharya Sushruta, Rakt as per Acharya Dalhan, and gets its origin from Kaf and Rakt Vahaspotas according to Acharya Walbhat. It is important to understand here the concept of drishti. The term drishti is used in mainly 2 references in Shalakya Tantra. At some point, it is referred as structural or anatomical entity, while at other point it is used as functional or physiological entity. Sometimes the term drishti is used for eyeball or central part of the cornea or pupil, and in some reference it is also used for vision and visual pathway. Here, for understanding of the Pratham Patal, there is a description of Drishti Mandal in Drishtigat Rog. So here, by means of Drishti Patal, we can understand that this is the pupil. So according to Acharya Sushrut, Drishti Mandal is covered by Bahya Patal or Tejo Jalashrit Patal, that is Avritam Patalen Akshano Bahyen Vivir Akritam. Vivir means it's a hollow structure. So here Drishti is specifically used for pupil. In Nabandh Sangrah, which is a Dalhan commentary on Sushrut Samhita, he clarified that although Drishti is covered by Bahya Patal, still Tej Pramanu or light rays can pass through Bahya Patal, which ultimately responsible for perception of object, that is Roop Grahan. So this explanation gives an idea that our great sages have clear-cut concept about transparency of outer coat, that is fibrous coat or Bahya Patal, which allow light rays to pass. In Drishtigat Rog Adhyay, there is a description of symptom arises due to involvement of particular patal. For the first patal, you can see here that only one symptom, which is Avyaktani Sarupani Sarvani Ye Prapashyati, that is blurring of vision, is described as far as Pratham Patalgat Timid Lakshan is concerned. When we go through the literature of refractive errors, there are three main causes of refractive errors. The one is axial length of the eye, that is anteroposterior diameter of the eye. The second is curvature of the cornea or the bending of the cornea, and the third one is refractive index of different structure. It may be corneal refractive index or lenticular refractive index. So growth or length of sclera is responsible for anteroposterior diameter or axial length of the eye, while the curved surface of cornea contribute towards curvature of the eye. These are the main structure responsible to decide the length of the eye as well as curvature of the eye. So fibrous coat is mainly responsible for axial length as well as curvature of eye. As you know that 1 mm increase or decrease in axial length result into 3 diopter of refractive error, while 1 mm decrease or increase in corneal curvature result into 6 diopter of refractive error. So main feature in the initial stage of refractive error, as you all know, that is blurring of vision. The main feature arises when a person who is wearing glasses, if he or she remove the glasses, the symptom arise is blurring of vision, which is written as Avyaktani Sarupani Sarvani Prapashyati. So now we will discuss second or Dvitiya Patal. The position of the Dvitiya Patal is situated inner to the Bahya Patal. It is also called Masashrit Patal, which is having Kandra-like properties, that is contraction and relaxation. Tunic or layer which is inner to the fibrous coat and having these properties is vascular coat. As you can see, the red layer in this slide, in this image, is of vascular coat or uveal coat. It consists of iris. So this is iris, this is ciliary body, and the posterior part is choroid. So iris is the anterior most part of uveal tract. As you can see, this is the anterior most part of the uveal tract. It contains two muscles, sphincter pupillae and dilator pupillae. So I have drawn an image of iris. This is the central part or pupillary margin. It is sphincter pupillary muscle, and the radially arranged fibers is of dilator pupillae. So sphincter pupillae is a 1 mm broad circular band in pupillary part of iris supplied by parasympathetic fiber through third nerve which constrict the pupil, while dilator pupillae muscle arranged radially and responsible for dilatation of the pupil. As we know that ciliary body, so this is ciliary body from here to this part, this is ciliary body, comprises ciliary muscle and processes. These are processes and muscles. Ciliary muscle consists of smooth muscle arranged in three orientation: longitudinal, circular and radial. Main action of all parts of ciliary muscle is to loosen suspensory ligament of the lens and thus helps in accommodation. So when these muscles contract, there is loosening of these are the suspensory ligaments or the zonules of the lens. So they loosen up by the contraction of the ciliary muscles and ultimately result into more power of the lens, and the process is called accommodation. So clinical picture arises due to vitiation of dosh in Dvitiya Patal is Drishti Bhrisham Pibalati Dvitiyam Patalam Gati, means there is more blurring of vision
when doshas reaches to the masashtic patal. The second symptom is mashkan, keshan, jalan, cha pashyati. These all symptom arises due to involvement of uveal coat. There are number of exogenous as well as endogenous factors which leads to inflammation of vascular coat, and each episode of which result into more diminution of vision as well as floaters like symptom. So when the dosh reaches to the second patal, there is more blurring of vision and the floaters in the eye, which are the floating particles or the patient can see in the form of makshika, mashakan, keshan, jala. Inflammation results from the chorioretinitis can cause inflammatory vitreous opacities, which again can cause floaters in the visual field. Retina, especially the macular area, depends on the choriocapillaries for its nutrition, and when choroid is involved, retina as well as macular area is affected, resulting into relative or absolute scotomas, which depends on the severity of pathological changes in the choroid, and here it is represented by drishti gochar vibhrama. So all this result into micropsia, metamorphosia, diplopia, and it arises due to the involvement of the macular area. So here is the description of durest अन्यापि रूपाणि मन्यते च समीपतः समीपस्थानि दूरे च दृष्टि गोचर विभ्रमात्. Drishti gochar vibhramaat we have already discussed, so we will discuss on these points. So all these points from here to this part refers to accommodative anomalies. So we have already discussed about the accommodation, how the lens can change its refractive power. So all these symptoms, दूर की चीजें पास देखेगा, पास की चीजें दूर देखेगा, arises due to either due to the inefficiency of accommodation, spasm of accommodation, or paralysis of accommodation. So when the ciliary muscle get involved, it may give rise to these type of symptoms. And the last one is suchi pasham na pashyati. This symptom or this part is specifically for the Dvitiya patal, and through this symptom we can be assured that this is nothing but the presbyopia. So what is presbyopia? So presbyopia is defined as condition of physiological insufficiency of accommodation leading to a progressive fall in near vision. So after the age of 35 or 40 years, there is a continuation or continuous fall in near vision. The condition is termed as presbyopia. So friends, by consideration of morphological, physiological and pathological characters of second patal, we can have this conclusion that the Dvitiya Patal or the symptoms is related to the uveal tract and retina. So with this, we come at the end of today's class. We will discuss third and fourth patal in the upcoming lecture. Till then, goodbye and thank you. Hi friends, welcome to e-learning module of Shalakya Tantra. As we have already discussed about gross anatomy of neck in Ayurveda, Pratham and Dvitiya Patal with their clinical interpretation in previous lectures. So, in today's lecture, we will discuss about Tritiya and Chaturth Patal. So, first of all, we will discuss about the relative position of third patal. The third patal should be surrounded by Dvitiya patal. As you can see here, this is uveal port and this is our Dvitiya patal. And fourth patal should be covered by the Tritiya patal. This is the nucleus of the lens. This can be considered as the fourth patal. So fourth patal is surrounded by the Tritiya patal. Tritiya patal is also called Medashrit patal. So structure having Med-like properties is cortex of the lens. The outer part of the lens is called cortex of the lens. So what is lens? This is the lens. Lens is a transparent biconvex crystalline structure placed between iris and vitreous. It is in a saucer-shaped depression called patellar fossa. This is patellar fossa where the lens is placed. Lens has got two surfaces, anterior surface and posterior surface. Both these surfaces meet at equator. These are the two equators. Center of anterior and posterior surface is called anterior pole. This is anterior pole and this is posterior pole. Lens is mainly divided into cortex. This is cortex or soft part and nucleus or hard part. Lens is covered by the outer surface of the lens is called capsule, which is thicker over the anterior than the posterior surface. So anterior capsule is thicker capsule and the posterior capsule is very thin. It is thickest at the equator. इक्वेटर पे सबसे ज्यादा थिक होता है and thinnest at the posterior pole. This is our posterior pole, so it is thinnest at the posterior pole. Under the anterior capsule के अंदर lies anterior epithelium. In the equatorial region, this epithelium, जो anterior epithelium है equatorial region में, actively divide and elongate to form new lens fibers. So lens fibers are originated or generated from anterior epithelium of the equatorial region. And this process is on throughout the life. There is no posterior epithelium as these cells are used up in filling the central cavity of the lens vesicle during development of the lens. So when I was preparing this lecture, I found somehow prakar karma of Med that are Medaha, Sneha, Swedau, Drinatvam, Pushtim, Asthinam Cha. So here the new lens fiber originate from equatorial region and old fiber goes deeper. The fibers from superficial part goes deeper in the central part and ultimately contribute in the development of adult nucleus. So which is in my view Pushtim Asthinamcha, as the fourth petal is Asthiashrit, that is nucleus of the lens. So friends, opacity of the lens is called cataract. The lens, our natural lens is transparent structure. When there is a opacification of the lens, then it is called cataract. Depending upon its location, it can be called as cortical or nuclear. In cortical cataract, we are talking about only the cortical cataract in Tritiya Patal Gatimir. Opacification is accompanied by progressive decrease in lens fiber and the water content of the lens is increased with maturation of cortical cataract from immature to hypermature cataract. So that is why it is called soft cataract, which is again is the property of male. So cortical cataract is soft cataract because of the increased hydration of the lens. And when vitiated dosh reaches from Dvitiya Patal to Tritiya Patal, the stage of timid is called Kanch Avastha. Kanch means coloration or Ranjata of Drishti Mandal. The color of the pupil in young age is jet black, and as the age advances, it changes from light red to milky white, depending upon the stage of cataract. So we are talking about Patala Anupravishtasya since previous lecture. So is it a mere coincidence that presbyopia, Suchipasham na pashyati, is described in Dvitiya Patal Gatimir, which is affecting people of 40 years and above, and senile cortical cataract is described in Tritiya Patal Gatimir, which usually affecting people of 50 years and above. So this query I leave to the audience to decide and interpret. So now we come to the clinical presentation of Tritiya Patal Gatimir. So if the doshas situated at the bottom here, so this part is the bottom part. So if the doshas situated at the bottom half of the lens, then patient is unable to see bottom half. That is why they have written Urdham Pashyati Na Adaha. Sometimes patient complain of कि ऐसा लगता है कि आंखों के आगे पर्दा पड़ा हुआ है, which is a very common feature in cataract. So here they have written that it is Shadid e Vasasa. Sometimes patient unable to recognize the fine details of the face, which is common finding in cataract, and it is written here as Karna Nasa Akshi Yuktani Vipritani Vikshate. We have already discussed about Drishti Ranjita. So when those highly vitiated, there is change in color of the pupil and it is called Ranjaye Drishti Doshe Baliyasi. If the dosh lies inferiorly, if the dosh lies inferiorly, this area, there is problem in near vision. As you know that while doing near work, our eyes tends to bend downwards and medially. Also in bifocal glasses, patient used to wear for presbyopic correction near vision glasses fitted in the infromedial part of the glasses. So if dosh affects inferior side of the lens, then it will affect patient's near vision. Similarly, if dosh affects superiorly, if dosh affects superiorly, then it will affect patient's distant vision. If lateral part of the lens become cataractous, if lateral part of the lens become cataractous, then lateral details of the object will be ill-defined. When those covers most of the lens cortex, then there will be severe blurring or mixing of details. If those situated in middle part of the lens, this is the middle part, if those situated in the middle part of the lens, which is due to clear segment. So here there are two clear segments, one is upper and one is lower. In a cataractous lens acting like a separate pupil, then diplopia will occur if those situated in two places and lens act as three separate pupils result into triplopia, yani three images at a time, and in multiple separate pupil the result is polyopia. So we can see all the symptoms related to lens cortex are described here in Tritiya Patalgata Timir Lakshan. So now we come at the last patal, that is fourth patal, and the fourth patal is covered by Medashrit patal, cortex of the lens, and it should be the innermost patal. So Chaturth patal is nothing but the nucleus of the lens, which is harder in consistency. That is the reason why it is called Asthi Ashrit patal. Central part of the nucleus, the most central part of the nucleus contains the oldest fibers. It consists of different zones, that is embryogenic nucleus, and it lies in its innermost part, then fetal nucleus, then infantile nucleus, the last one is adult nucleus. In nuclear cataract, and it is also called hard cataract, it is defined as the usual degenerative change in intensification of the age-related nuclear sclerosis associated with dehydration and compactness of the nucleus resulting in hard cataract. We have seen that in cortical cataract there was hydration of the lens, while in nuclear cataract there is clear-cut dehydration of the lens. That is why the cortical cataract is termed as soft cataract, while the nuclear cataract is called hard cataract. So now, when dosh reaches to Chaturth Patal, the Timir is termed as Lingnash. So I have already told that the broader term is Timir. Whenever there is a problem in the vision, the term is called Timir. When this Timir reaches in the third patal, then it is called Gachavastha. When it reaches in the fourth patal, then it is called Lingnachavastha. So what is the clinical features of the fourth patal? A clinical entity in which there is complete loss of vision, and this is called Lingnash. So Rundati Sarvato Drishte Lingnashe se Uchyate. When there is a complete loss of vision, then it is called Lingnash. But in initial stage, there may be perception of light as the person perceives light of the sun, moon, stars, highly illuminating objects like lightning and fireworks. So Ling denotes the visual acuity. So loss of visual acuity is Lingnash. So these are the features described in Ayurvedic text for the fourth Patalgat Timir. And this in this stage only perception of light is present. So this is all about the anatomical, physiological as well as pathological aspects of all Netra Patal, which will be helpful in understanding variety of ocular manifestation resulting into loss of vision. So here now I thank you all for be with me for all the 3 lectures, and I hope these lectures will enrich your knowledge. Thank you all.